If you're watching this video right now, that means Indiana just won the 2026 College Football Playoff National Championship. And whether it be by 1 point or 100 points, they just made history, not just in college football, but in all of sports. Here's why. Prior to 2024, Indiana was arguably the worst team in all of Power 4 college football. In over 115 seasons as a program, the Hoosiers amassed just 507 wins overall, one of the lowest win totals of any Power 4 team in the country. On top of that, since 2006, when the NCAA fully adopted the universal 12-game schedule across all teams in all conferences, Indiana had the second fewest wins prior to 2024 of any Power 4 team at just 88, tied with Rutgers and just above Kansas at 85. On top of that, before 2024, Indiana had never won a national championship, never won a conference championship outright, never won a New Year's Six Bowl, never had 10 or more wins in a single season, had never been ranked number 1 in the AP poll, had a record of just 3-10 in bowl games in its entire history, and hadn't won a bowl game since 1991. So you might be thinking, how did they go from this to this in just 2 seasons? Well, because of this guy right here. Curt Cignetti started his coaching career as a quarterbacks coach at the likes of Rice, Temple, Pitt, and NC State. In those years, he would receive nationwide notoriety for his recruitment and development of NFL quarterback Pete Gonzalez, as well as potential future NFL Hall of Famer Phillip Rivers. And in 2007, he would be hired by none other than Nick Saban to be Alabama's quarterbacks coach and recruiting coordinator. It was at Alabama where Coach Cignetti was able to hone in on his talent identification and development prowess, helping the legendary Nick Saban build Alabama up from a 7-6 team in 2007 all the way up to an undefeated national champion in 2009. Now you would think with an apprenticeship like that, Curt Cignetti would have no issue dropping down to say a G5 school, becoming a head coach, and working his way up from there. But it wouldn't be that easy. For better or for worse, Coach Cignetti had built up a reputation as a career assistant. I mean, after all, he was already 50 years old and had spent 28 years as an assistant coach without ever having even been considered for a head coaching gig. No teams were willing to bet on him, so he bet on himself. In 2011, Curt Cignetti would accept his first ever head coaching gig for the Division II Indiana University of Pennsylvania Crimson Hawks, a team I personally had no idea existed before making this video, but who in all fairness was already established as a PSAC powerhouse from the late 80s to the early 2000s under Curt Cignetti's father, Frank Cignetti Sr. Cignetti's tenure at IUP saw him achieve instant success as a head coach, where in just 2 seasons, the Crimson Hawks would amass a 19-5 record, a PSAC conference championship, which that probably is not actually how that's pronounced. Hold on.
It remains one of the largest conferences in the NCAA across all 3 divisions. But how did the PSAC begin?
Okay, got it. A PSAC conference championship, an NCAA Division II playoff berth, and a final ranking of 7th nationally. Cignetti would go on to coach at IUP for 4 more seasons, finishing his tenure with an overall record of 53-17 in 6 seasons. He would then move up to the Division I FCS level to coach at Elon, where he would record 2 FCS playoff appearances in just 2 seasons as their head coach, and then to FCS James Madison, where, under Coach Cignetti, they would win 2 CAA conference championships before the program would take a leap into the big leagues, Division I FBS. In 2022, James Madison would join the Sun Belt Conference, and wouldn't you know it, they would achieve instant success, going 19-4 in 2 seasons, winning back-to-back division titles, and if not for the quite stupid NCAA rule that teams who move up divisions can't participate in the postseason, would have likely won the Sun Belt in 2023. I think I'm starting to notice a trend here. So, with Cignetti being able to flex a national championship caliber talent identification prowess at Alabama, and now years of proven program building experience, you would think he would have been a hot commodity on the open coaching market. But No. At this point, Curt Cignetti was already 60 years old, and most Power 4 ADs weren't willing to take on a coach who was known for resetting and reprogramming teams if they didn't think he could be around for 10 to 15 years. Well, except one team. Like I said at the beginning of this video, Indiana had been one of the worst power conference teams for the better part of their entire existence as a program. They were coming off a Tom Allen tenure that saw them reach their first 8-win season since 1993, but ultimately would see Indiana obtain a record of just 33-48 with an 0-2 bowl record in 7 seasons. In 2024, the Hoosiers would take a big swing on old man Cignetti, signing him to a 6-year contract to make him the team's next head coach. And his plan was simple: install what worked at JMU into Indiana. With him to Indiana, he brought longtime assistant coaches Mike Shanahan and Bryant Haynes to be the Hoosiers' next offensive and defensive coordinators. Then he brought in a ton of talent from James Madison and guys like D'Angelo Pons, Elijah Surratt, Kalen Black, Aiden Fisher, Tyson Lawton, and Michael Kamara to be cornerstone pieces in his new squad. And wouldn't you know it, in typical Curt Cignetti fashion, it ended up working out for him immediately. Indiana would have its best season in program history, achieving its first ever 11-win season, first AP top 10 finish, and first college football playoff appearance ever, officially cementing them as a former perennial Big Ten laughingstock into a now absolute college football juggernaut. And they wouldn't stop there. In the winter of 2024, Cignetti would once again hit the portal hard, anteing up for what he predicted to be a legendary 2025 season. Of those pickups, most notably Stephen Daly of Kent State, Roman Hemby of Maryland, Devon Boykin of NC State, Pat Coogan of Notre Dame, and some kid named Fernando Mendoza from Cal Berkeley. And yeah, they ended up being pretty good.
Another handoff, big hole. Kiss him goodbye. Touchdown, Kobe Martin. 31 yards on the ground.
De'Aaron Hill Jr. is the running back. The quick pass is intercepted. It's going to be run in for an Indiana touchdown. D'Angelo Pons on the first play of the game.
In trouble. It's out. Touchdown. Here it comes. Mendoza has time. Lows end zone. Caught. Touchdown, Becker.
At the 24, Mendoza.
Charlie B. from Nashville.
Fernando Mendoza.
Well, there's nothing like having a home semifinal game.
This story may seem like a heartwarming, feel-good, picturesque underdog story about a coach overcoming the odds and proving everyone wrong, and it is all of those things, but more importantly, in my opinion, this is a story about determination driven by spite and self-belief. In spite of Cignetti being looked over time and time again for head coaching opportunities, in spite of ADs not wanting to take on the risk of an aging program builder, in spite of Indiana being one of the worst programs of all time with no historical success, coming into 2025 with one of the worst rosters in terms of star talent in the country, both Curt Cignetti and Indiana chose to bet on themselves and each other. And because of that, they were able to do something that has never been done before and may never be done again. And I mean that literally, not in the fairy tale make-believe, oh, this will never be done. This will probably never be done ever again. The level of talent identification, acquisition, and development we've seen from Indiana in the past 2 years, it's just straight up like mythical, out of legend, stuff we've never seen before. I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, just look at this again. Look how insanely outmatched they are from a star talent perspective. That shouldn't happen. I don't think it ever will happen ever again. Think the movie Moneyball, but even crazier. And they did win in the end. What would you even call that? Hoosier ball? Cignetti ball? Siggy ball? I don't know. But, yeah. See ya.